judging with me tonight will be Sebastian to my right and Claudia to my left. So welcome them too. And most importantly, let's welcome the teams. On proposition, we will have the team Zip A, for which we will be speaking in this order: Arthur, Pre-9, is that right?
Arthur, Primoz, and
Primoz, okay. I know that name, but your handwriting is hard. Okay, so Arthur, Primoz, and Matthew. And the reply speech will be given by Arthur. And on the team up, we have the team No Idea for now. And maybe, yeah, do the
yeah, the speakers are in order Andrea, Gloria, and the reply will be held by Andrea.
We're all familiar with the motion. Are there any logistical questions, remarks, something that needs to be changed before we start? I know that the room is too damn hot, but I know that I can do much about it. I don't know why these speakers are there, or headphones are there. Okay, so that's supposed to be there. Well, in that case, I can start the show, and I call upon Arthur to defend the motion.
Casually snap a man's neck because I perceive that what he did to my family was wrong in the past and therefore dispense eye for an eye justice. In this debate, we are going to show you why this is problematic and why this is wrong, and this is generally what we are going to talk about. So first of all, after this really bad introduction, I would like to define some terms in the motion. So what do we mean by positive portrayal of vigilante justice? This means that generally you have positive characters who dispense vigilante justice being shown in the media in everyday life. This can be, for example, Batman, because, you know, he takes the law into his own hands. He's shown as a positive, mostly positively moral character that does good actions for the good of society. Or it could be, for example, a cop who's had his family killed by this drug lord who's also like terrorizing the local village, and he goes and, like the noir cop, goes and in a shootout gets rid of those guys. Like all sorts of vigilante justice. The main thing is that it was shown positively by positive characters. That's what we mean by positive portrayal. What do we mean by popular art? We see that this portrayal is pervasive through movies. This portrayal is pervasive through television, film, radio shows, books, all sorts of like pop art that people like us consume on almost a daily basis. And what do we mean by vigilante justice? Basically, when an individual takes the law or dispenses justice himself, right? He acts, no thank you, when I decide whether something you did is just, and then proceed to administer a punishment. So, what do we see? What do we think this rise of this trope is? We think this is a trope. When we start seeing more characters like Batman, more characters like this cop I was talking about. Basically, what this trope means, what a trope like this does, is it reflects the values that we hold in society in this art, and it also helps to reinforce values that we hold in society and through this art by generally making society acceptable, more accessible to everybody, glorifying them by somehow showing only mostly positive examples of this, like we see within this specific example of vigilante justice. Not all movies are like Kick-Ass, no thank you. And general normalization. So, we believe what we're going to be talking about today is more or less we're going to be principally arguing whether or not the values presented by vigilante justice are good or bad. Because we believe that as a society, it's important what values we hold, because these values influence our everyday decisions and they have an effect on the kind of society we'll live in the future. So, without further ado, how do you think the criteria for this debate would be? I think it's important to think firstly whether or not vigilante justice in the way it's administered is fair, whether or not it's universally applicable, the attitudes it holds to it, which will be my first argument. My second argument, I'll talk about the attitudes it holds towards traditional justice. And in our third argument, we'll talk about the moral implications, no thank you, of having individuals make such choices presented by Primoz. So to move into my first argument, vigilante justice is not justice. Now, my first point here is I would like to talk about how we have certain objective standards of what we want our justice system to do that we think are good, and how vigilante justice system does not live up to this. Therefore, it is not justice. The name is a bit of a misnomer. Now, what are these objective set of standards? Well, we see that we have a complex set of standards and values, like, for example, and a set of principles that are integrated into our justice system to guarantee fair and equal treatment. An example of this would be, no thank you, the principle of innocent until proven guilty. The fact that this is guaranteed is important because we don't believe that without this, no sort of trial or no sort of decision can be fair. Now, how does vigilante justice not live up to this? Well, let's see. Our justice system believes that, for example, we need to have a moral arbiter arbiter that is not involved at all. Often this is not the case with popular vigilante justice. The cop will have had his wife shot, Batman will have had his parents killed, Batman would be like deeply emotionally involved with that goings on in the city because he sees the harm that it does. He is not a judge who has been trained for years and years and years to not let his own moral values influence the decisions he makes. There is no sorts of checks and balances here. Also, the vigilante justice forgoes the idea that the morals that it presents and the morals that it enforces can be in any way the outcomes that it comes up with can be in any way universally applicable. Our justice system tries to its very best that when it, no thank you, would judge, that if it were to judge two identical cases, it would come with similar outcomes. When you have an individual choosing certain cases that he pick and mixes, not a societal system which he will judge, he is accepting that other cases will quite probably not be judged, not be decided on, and at the same time he accepts that somebody else might be deciding on them and therefore reaching a different set of conclusions because he has no guarantee that the conclusions will be reached in a fair and equal manner. That is also problematic.
Sure.
Also, yes please.
Okay, we all agree with the fact that vigilante justice is not exactly justice, it's not something that we want to be our society like. But at the same time, how does this influence our society right now through these movies?
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, we have told you how this should be, we spoke about this earlier. First of all, we told you there should be a principal debate about the society, values of society, because this is a motion about media that represents and reinforces values. Therefore, we should talk about these values because we do not want to hold bad values in society, and we do want to hold values that are generally perceived as good. A bad value for society, no thank you, is a value that is antisocial, in and of it makes it hard for the society to continue existing, or a value that is in direct contradiction with other principles and values that we have that we hold dear. And this is what I'm showing you gradually that vigilante justice is like, if that makes sense. If we had bad values, we value them, we apply them to our everyday life. Think of, for example, structural oppression, how this can be influenced by small decisions that individuals make. In the same way, if we hold bad values such as vigilante justice is good, no thank you, we will then apply them to our lives. So to move on to my second point, a fair justice system can only be, has to be universal and a societal decision. What do I mean by this? I mean that there is no objective standard of justice, yeah? Let's get this straight. And so the only way that we can have like a fair justice system is if we have a justice system that represents and fairly talks about the principles that all the individuals in society have, and that can together through a democratic vote help to decide and set for everybody. No thank you. Vigilante justice, no thank you, is not like that. We see that even if we all value, if we find value vigilante justice cool, if we value it as a society or believe that it is in some cases justified, we would never want to be on the receiving end of vigilante justice, because in that case we would prefer to see it as unfair and undue punishment for our actions when we have, for example, not been perceived guilty. It is in contradictions with other values that we hold. And hence, I believe that vigilante justice cannot be accepted as, no thank you, that the portrayal of vigilante justice in the media reinforces this idea that that there is an objective moral good, that there is an objective moral that we should follow, and that justice is anything other than just democratically decided by every member of society separately, individually. So, no thank you. I think I have adequately established that first of all, vigilante justice goes in contrast to our values about how people should be accountable in a justice system, how there should be certain values and principles that are guaranteed, and at the same time it also being enforced, how it is not enforced by the entirety of society. No thank you, we do not all have a say in it, and therefore it is bad. Second argument, our attitude of vigilante justice towards the criminal justice system. We talked about how it is not justice, what is attitude towards actual justice. We see that vigilantes often represent good individuals who take justice into their own hands, often because the justice system has failed them, because they believe that the justice system does not work, that they have to act past the justice system. Why is this problematic? Because they're doing it in an incorrect manner. First of all, they are not going through the checks and balances often that are already provided in justice systems that we have in society today, when we're talking about like real world vigilante justice. And second of all, instead of trying to change the system, like a preferable option would be a revolution, like where you have to oust the government, than to what they are doing, which is they're not trying to change the system, they are in fact taking on the burdens of the system and becoming the system. Instead of helping to create a societal fair justice system, they are individually, arbitrarily dispensing justice onto the individual. And this is not fair. Further stated above. This is in fact extremely hypocritical because first of all, because they have been betrayed by the checks and balances that we have on our society, on their society's justice system, they decide to act without similar or equivalent checks and balances that would be able to be had to hold them accountable. And this is hypocrisy. So, to summarize again, vigilante justice system is not accountable, vigilante justice is unfair, and we believe that it should have no place being glorified in art, and we strongly regret that it is to the degree that it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest issue of government team today is the fact that they have not created at any point a link in between popular culture, the movies in which vigilantes are presented, and all the issues that are created in society. We agree with the fact that there are some people who consider themselves as being vigilantes and they do bad things. But what we present to you today is the fact that that type of vigilante is not created by movies. It is not created by culture. And we urge the government team to show us exactly how a movie about Batman makes you go and snap somebody's neck, because we believe that is not true, and I'll present this why during my first argument. In my speech today, I'll have 3 rebuttal points. The first one is about, is it justice or is it not justice when we have vigilantes? The second one will be about the values of the society, and the third one about are these vigilantes against the system or not? And after that, I'm going to move to my extension, in which I will talk about the real message that the people receive from vigilantes in popular culture. First of all, justice or not. And they say about the fact that, oh, but we have a system for this. We have a system that intervenes. We have policemen that go on the streets and stop people from doing bad things. Okay, but the question is, what do we do when the police fails to do that? Because the biggest issue is the fact that in so many cases, the police is not there to stop something. The police is not there and it's not capable to arrive on time in order to stop something. What do we do then? We just look and we just stay and look because, oh, we just have to wait for the system? No, that's not what we believe. We believe that we should be capable to help each other. We should be capable to receive a message from the movies that we are able to help each other when the system is not capable to be there on time. Especially when we live in huge cities in which the police department is inside the city and you live in a neighborhood outside the city and the police takes loads of time to arrive there, and until they arrive, the problem is already, the problem will never be solved anymore. The second one about it is not fair. In a second, it is not fair to punish somebody without a trial. But before that, please.
If there's a situation where the police coverage is that bad, you can go vote, participate in the democratic process, and make it better. But in no case you have to endanger yourself and everyone else to try to solve it on your own.
Thank you very much. I'll present to you why we consider that it's actually not such a big of a risk, and even though there is a risk, we consider that this is a humane value that we think is very good in society. The fact that people help each other with the risk that they will be hurt, that is something we want to promote. It's something which is actually good. We want that to happen. So again, moving to the second point of rebuttal, which is the values of the society. So what? Because the vigilantes are not mutually agreed about everybody in the society. Not everybody agrees about religion, not everybody agrees about abortions, not everybody agrees about LGBT community and all those kind of things. That is not the problem. We are trying to change the fact that not everybody agrees with it. It is not the point. If we ask you the question, okay, if it becomes a value of the society, do you agree with it? Do you think it's a value which is good? That's what you have to answer. If this is a value good, it's a good value, if we'll be able to implement it for all the people, because it's not a problem that not everybody agrees with it. So, and the third point about are the vigilantes against the system or not? And what we present to you, and what we want to prove to you, and what my colleague will prove through her argument, is the fact that actually they're not against the system. And the vigilantes that are presented by the movies, by the popular culture, are vigilantes who do not act against the system, but are those vigilantes who act when the system fails to act. That is what we want to promote. The fact that the system is not always capable, and we should not think that the system is capable of taking care of each and one of us. We should think of the fact that we should be able to help each other, because that's the way it all started. The way we created a society was about the fact that if we live together, we'll be more safe than when we live separately. We live together because we need to protect each other in order and also to help each other. We shouldn't wait from the state to do all those kind of things. We have to do those things ourselves. And now let's move on to my extension, but before that, please.
We explained to you in the second argument how exactly this is the problem. Instead of solving the problems that the system might have, the vigilantes try to take the justice in their hand. They are not trained, they are not judges, they are not capable to do that.
I will prove you in my extension exactly why it is not that extreme as you presented. Let's hear the context. The context of the people who are who watch the movies about vigilantes is as follows. Two. The first one is people who just watch the movies because it's fun, because they like it, and they don't get any kind of message from it. We have no impact on these people, so we don't care about these people. It's not a bad thing. The second one is people who receive a message from this kind of movies. But what kind of message is that? Is it the message that people are going to go on the streets and kill people? Is it the message that I will have to take my bat and go and hit people with my bat on the street because I saw Batman doing that? No, that's not the thing that it promotes. The thing that vigilante movies promote is actually something which is not extreme. All the extremities, all the people that go and kill somebody because of the fact, and they go and kill somebody and say it's vigilante, it's not because of a movie. Nothing in a movie can convince you to go and kill a person. The reason you go and kill a person is because of your background, is because of your lack of education, is because your problems at home. It is not the popular movie that you watched. The message that the movie sends is the fact that the system is not always capable of helping somebody, which is why I might be able to do it. And what is going to happen? Let's take a very, very simple example. For example, when I go down the street, the portrayal that they make, when I go down the street and I see somebody being robbed, an old lady and somebody comes, steals the purse and starts running. The message they portray is the fact that if I stop that guy, I'm against the system. I take the system in my own hands. That is extremely bad. But and also at the same time they say, okay, I should stop and I should call the police. Until the police arrives, I can guarantee the fact that that guy is long gone with the purse. The problem is not solved by the system. We're talking about this minor examples in which people, instead of walking by, or instead of staying and calling the police and waiting for the police to do something, will go and risk themselves to stop that guy. Again, risking yourself for something like this is not something bad. We do not accept the fact that risking yourself, risking the fact that you might get beaten up by the guy who stole the purse, it is not a bad thing. It is a very valuable thing in our society because it's a humane thing that we want to promote. It doesn't promote extremities, going and killing people, going and proclaiming yourself as being vigilante. It is about people who walk down the street, see something bad and act. Don't just walk by and do absolutely nothing about it. So because of this reason, and because of the fact that the government team has not proved to us in any way how the link in between movies and extremities and killing people and going against the system and taking the system in your own hands actually work, we believe the fact that we prove to you that movies just send a good message to people that we want to implement in our society. For all of these reasons, we believe that this motion should not pass.
Thanks for the speech, and I now call upon Primoz to continue the debate.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable panel. Firstly, I'm going to have a reality check on the opposition, what it said. Secondly, I'm going to show you that the portrayal in the movies, as they consider themselves, is incorrect. It is not what vigilantism looks like in real life, and it convinces us that that is how it looks in real life. As they conceded, Batman is not a realistic example of vigilantism, right? Real vigilantism is something much different, and the movies distort reality and make us more likely to legitimize and endorse real vigilantism that we can observe in historic examples, which I'm going to show in my argument. And ask the panel at the end of this speech, does the panel really want to legitimize that? Now, let's go into it. Firstly, their negation was minimal to none. Innocent until guilty, no response, not a problem for them, obviously. Right to fair trial, not a problem. beating somebody with a bat is okay, and you see somebody's purse being taken, you go chase them and beat them up. What if you saw wrong? What if you made a mistake? What if Batman beats up an innocent man for nothing because he wasn't given a fair trial? This happens, and it can happen a lot. Like, witness testimony is extremely unreliable. Now imagine a guy walking around town and just seeing something at random. Do we really want to endorse just go and do whatever you will? Is that what we're going for? Further on, right to equal punishment for equal crime. Not a problem. If you insult a person, or if you harm a person, he's going to shoot out your family, your friends. But on another case, you might just get in prison. Is that fair? Is that how justice should be? This is a prime example of a destruction of justice system, where anyone can get punished by any means, on any level. This is exactly how society cannot possibly operate. If we as a society, firstly and foremost, reason that we cannot have an eye for an eye. This is how society is formed. We decided the police should take care of it, and what they're saying is, the police can't take care of it, let's return to the Barbary case, right? Let's go back to, I can beat somebody up on the street because I think that is okay and that is just. Now, and I'll go further into this. They don't even try to deal with authoritarian superhero. With superhero going against the system in whatever manner he wishes. And in the hypocrisy of it, that we expose not a single response. But let's see what we have. They accused us of having no link. But would like to clarify one thing. If they wish to support Batman and the movie portrayals, they have to own up to everything that this implies. If we give certain rights to Batman, like going around and beating people up because he thinks it's right, we should also give those rights to KKK, right? Because this is a direct example of vigilantism in real life. It is people saying, the justice system has failed us, let's go ahead and take it in our own hands. This is what they have to own up to if they want to win this debate. That if Batman should have those rights, the rest of them should also have them, or no one should have them. And this is the core of this debate. You mispronounce my name now. Further on, they endorsed vigilantism in real life. In their speech, they said that movies can promote it, and at the same time, the good kind of stealing a purse, protect the woman kind. At the same time, they say movies have no impact on real people, you have to prove the impact. Who has no link here? Right? I mean, they have clear contradiction and tension in their case right there. On this point. No, further on. They said not everyone thinks some things are okay, there is no absolute justice, like some people think abortion is not okay, some people think LGBT is not okay. And you know, when the system fails, don't wait for the system, take it in your own hands, like ISIS does, right? That's how it works. When you have people saying, the system has failed us, they're imposing LGBT values on us, this is morally wrong, let's go ahead and fix it. They have to own up to this, because this is exactly the implication, direct implication of what they're saying, right? Clarification. No. Now, further, they present a completely incorrect portrayal of what this looks in real life. And even movies have huge problems. Like, have you ever realized how much collateral damage happens in those movies? In a random superhero movie, hundreds of people, thousands of people die for one man to have his justice. Again, is that something we want to endorse? Is that the vision of the future we want? And further on, legitimizing all this, destruction, death, terror, and disregard for human rights, for some individualistic justice, even torture. Batman tortures people in movies. Is that what we're going to endorse? An individual coming up and beating people up in interrogation chambers, referring to Batman specifically, is that what we're going to own up to? Please. The whole point of my argument was the fact that people who do those kind of extreme things do it because of other reasons, not because of a movie, because of the fact that they lack education and a good background. Sure, Batman lacks education and a good background. But what this says is Batman is a bad guy, he shouldn't be endorsed or popularized. That is what they're saying, ladies and gentlemen. They have examples in movies of this kind of characters. Characters that were hurt in life, became loners, and then went on and administered individual justice. Batman is the guy he's talking about. The guy that was hurt, a psychopath that goes around killing people. If they what they're saying essentially is that the characters portrayed in those movies as good are exactly the characters they're afraid of. Now, moving on.
But before
If we concede to that one man can dictate moral norms, anything goes. This is the third argument that I've already started on, but would like to elaborate on further. Vigilante justice is a double standard, and I would like to present you with some cognitive dissonance, if I may. So, if it's individualistic, and it's not bound by any social norms or legal norms. For example, Batman flies into a sovereign nation on a stolen or reappropriated military tech, blows up a tower, and kidnaps a person decided to be free by the legal system. We've seen such an event before, and nobody liked it, as far as I know. This is the situation we're dealing with.
Sir.
That is some cognitive dissonance for you to think about. If we endorse Batman, how can you possibly say that on equal grounds, with equally no right to do that, no, other people are going to have it? This is the gist of this debate. If an art here is an incredibly powerful force to do something, and when we see this, we have to understand that why is positive portrayal of harmful behavior, even if it's fictional, a problem? Humans are remarkable creatures, ladies and gentlemen. We tell ourselves stories, useful fiction such as the value of paper money or human rights that help us live up to who we are and help us form societies. Those kind of stories are one of those fictions. If we endorse those stories, if we take psychopaths such as Batman as heroes, we have to understand that this flows through the whole of our perception. We have to understand that we're not saying that movies will make you do it, although they kind of endorse that. They endorse you going after a stolen person on the street because you saw it in the movies. We're saying if we provide, if there is a harm in vigilantism in real life, as we've seen, like Black Panthers and so on, okay, if we see and realize that the majority of real life examples are shit, then we should maybe think about portraying them in movies and endorsing them as good. Thank you.
Thank you, and I would now like to call upon Andrea to do the second stage.
Yeah, a Batman movie leads to anarchy. No, it does not. Let's have a reality check and let's look how people are actually when they watch movies and how vigilantes in the real life don't actually recreate everything that they see in the movies, and actually the fact that in the movies everything is a bit exaggerated and the people don't actually interact with all of them. Okay, I'm going to have 3 points of rebuttal. After that I'm going to go into my extension, in which I'm going to talk rather about the activism that such vigilantes promote, and how the society and the state should welcome this activism and should welcome it as a complementary thing that we should have in our society. But before that, my first point of rebuttal: are these vigilantes in the real life real harmful or not? Because in the Batman movies, we don't see Batman as being so harmful to the society. He much rather responds to the society's needs to do something, okay? To react to the fact that the justice system cannot actually solve everything. And Batman isn't portrayed in a bad way because he doesn't do bad things that at the end of the day lead to an anarchy. More on that, we think that no, thank you. Even if we would have had a Batman in the society, he could be held accountable for it. He's not a superhero, and we want the government to understand this. Batman doesn't have superpowers. Batman can be put in a jail if he does something utterly bad, if he kills someone, and if he acts upon his subjective point of standard. But more on that on my last point of rebuttal. Let's move now to my second point of rebuttal, in which we're going to solve that contradictions in the government says that we've done today. The fact that we've accused them that they haven't done a proper link between vigilantes in the movies and how Batman will kill someone in the movie and how someone will kill someone in the real life, is not a contradiction with our extension, because our extension is actually talking about the link in which you see Batman killing someone, but you're not quite, you're not gonna go for killing someone. You're gonna understand that Batman tried to solve something. Batman went to do something. Batman did something that did not simply stood out there. Because this is the link that we rather think that the team opposition today wants to promote. The fact that a person when it watches a movie, that it's pure entertainment, right? Everyone in this room might have seen a movie with Batman at some point, but did not understand the fact that Batman goes for killing people, even though that's an extreme thing that we believe should be punished. But we believe that the thing that Batman goes at the ground, which leads to activism, that is the moment in which we make a real link between movies and those and the people in the society. Okay, and we believe that in our argument, they haven't really interacted with our argument in this way. And we are still waiting for them to explain to us why, if I see Batman killing someone, I'm gonna go and kill someone on the street. Because, yeah, sure, I don't know that if you kill someone, you're gonna be punished by the law, and you're gonna go to jail, and you're gonna be punished for that. We want them to explain this, and we are still waiting for it. And my first point of rebuttal, but before that, sure.
Look, you yourselves agree that what this means, for the sake of clarification, people on the street will see someone they think is being attacked and will act. They will take justice into their own hands and beat up the attacker. Can we please agree on this now?
Yes, we say that they will try and act, but they will not act in an extreme way. They will not act in an extreme way. They will not go for killing that person. They will not go. They will only go for helping that person, okay? They will not go against all their values that have been grounded in their mind. They will try to help that person, not to damage necessarily the one that has stolen something for them. Okay, the last point of the button after that I can start to apply. The double standard thing. And the fact that they are acting only upon their individualistic opinion. No, ladies and gentlemen, vigilantes are the ones that are acting because there's a need in the society for them. Vigilantes are the ones that actually answer the need of the society. Vigilantes, when they're watching a family being robbed, they actually look at them and they say, they need help. It's not my desire of helping and my desire of killing, of going for that robber, is my desire of helping them. It's my desire to fulfill the society's need. That is not being held, that is not being fulfilled by the justice system. And before going to my constructive, one last question for the government team today. Is the justice system the best way in which we can interact with social problems? Is the justice system the only way in which we can do that? And more of that, is it the best one? And with this, let's go into my constructive. No, thank you. Because this is the statement which I'm going to cite my extension. No, the justice system cannot always be the best one. It cannot be, legislatively speaking, the one that gets there first, the one that solves it all, the one that has all the opinions of the society. That's why we want someone from inside the society to try and act on it. In the moment in which we portray this kind of acts in a good way in movies, we are going to get the help of the society, right? Because in the moment in which I'm watching that movie and I'm saying that it is okay to try and act on it, it's okay to understand that maybe my justice system cannot always do the best, in that moment we're going to have the support of the population. And at that moment we're going to have the state also understanding that the vigilantes that are more likely activists in our society, because that's what vigilantes movies produce, those are going to get the support of the state. The support of the state, not in the matter and in which the state is going to take them and bring upon them their opinion and you have to do this and do this. No. I'm going to let you do what you think is best because you're part of the society, because you're from inside there. And at that moment, the state, because we believe that such an activism by the side of the state could not do the same thing that he could do on his own. We believe that if the state would have taken Batman, he would have kept him, I don't know, in a police station, and he couldn't have done the best he could if he would have been on the ground, prioritizing on his own what he should do and what he should not do. And we believe that nowadays we need the people in Mexico that fight the drug cartels and help the state to diminish this problem. And at the end of the day, we want the state to understand this as well. We want to have the population to support them as well. And we want activists that are produced by these vigilante movies. We do not believe that these vigilante movies will produce extreme people. This is not going to happen. Still waiting for the proposition today to prove us why. If not, we believe that we have proven to you the fact that portraying them in a good way has been to nothing but positive things in our society. And for all these reasons, please do not vote this motion.
Alright, the time has come for the whip speeches, the first of which will be delivered by proposition. So I call upon Matthew, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, to deliver that speech.
So it turns out that we are comparing two worlds here, right? We are comparing a world in which justice is administered by an institution we have had for thousands of years. The police force, the justice system, all different faculties working together to provide the fairest and most efficient system of how to prevent and solve crime. On the other hand, we have that opposition. And that opposition is talking about some cherry-picked examples where a one-man army guy who is omnipotent and sees everything and understands everything is suddenly going to be a better alternative for preventing justice. This debate, in the end of the day, is a principle debate. We are comparing, in principle, what would be a better world, but side proposition went further and we had realistic arguments about how this impacts society. We talked about legitimizing and normalizing some values in the minds of the general population, not necessarily talking about all the burden side opposition tried to gain. So I'm going to do this in my speech. I'm going to compare the authority and the vigilante service on three levels. First of all, I'm going to talk about who is principally better. Second of all, who is more efficient at solving crime. And I'm going to finish off by talking how these movies, how these vigilante movies have an implication in our society. So let's start talk about the principle of justice. We had a first argument, the very most important argument in this debate, which talks about what is a real justice system. And we were very clear in our stance. We explained to you how justice system has a certain set of principles that it always dictates, that it always has. For instance, every criminal has some set of rights because he is also a human being, so human rights and some more rights all apply to him in any case. Second of all, in justice system, there is a universal system of determining who gets what punishment for what crime, what happens now. A set of rules which make sure that no matter who you are, where you're from, or actually based on the circumstances of your crime, you get a fair treatment and a treatment that would happen the same if there was another guy in your place. there's the fact that there's a social contract in place, that the fact that we are voting for the government that's controlling the laws, the fact that we have a say in how police force is organized, it means that we are condoning and actually consensualizing the social contract which gives police force the legitimacy. Now, when they talked, their only negation was that, you know what, what if four people agree with vigilantes, things like that. No, the problem is that you don't vote for a vigilante. A vigilante is a random guy that decided to administer justice however he sees it fit, and you have no say in what he thinks is right or wrong. With the justice system, though, you vote for the laws. You, as a collective community, decide together what those laws are going to be, and which is why you have checks and balances in place which prevent mistakes and abuses from happening. Now let's see what happens when you have a one-man army vigilante. You have a guy that doesn't have a large amount of knowledge necessarily about the event. If I see a guy running with a purse, yeah, he might be a robber that just robbed the grandma. But that was me yesterday because I got lost in the middle of Ploiești and I was running because there was a stray dog behind me. A vigilante who is not seeing that well would probably come and beat me up and I wouldn't be here today. It's hard to see things, right? Especially at night. And because of that, in our justice system, like witness reports are already not the most credible things, are not taken into account as the most credible things. Second of all, vigilante people don't have that much of skill. I mean, if you have 10 situations, right? How am I going to prevent a crime in a safe way for all the people who are involved? How is that going to happen? It's not going to happen because I'm not a policeman. And if you want to become a policeman, you get trained in how to actually administer law, how to provide safety. Without a training, it's actually quite dangerous to be a policeman, which is why there are no policemen without training. Furthermore, you don't have the principal right. I mean, nobody gave you the right to administer justice. So even if you see something that you don't agree with, you don't have the right because you don't have the mandate to do that. That's the same as you don't have the mandate to decide how other people are going to live because you are not voted into power by them. And finally, and that's the most important point, they never get to that, is bias. If I'm against the LGBT community, I'm going to be a bit more prone to go after an LGBT guy and, say that he committed some sort of a crime. Why? Because there's no one checking what I do, because there's no checks and balances in play. I can do pretty much whatever I want and I can say that he committed a crime and I was stopping him. No, thank you. So, when they say that we are a bunch of individuals protecting each other, like living, dying for each other, living a life for each other, no, that's not true. We're not living in 10,000 BC. In modern day, we are collectively creating social institutions which have specific goals that they have to tackle, like the liberal principle of justice. But now let's go further. Let's talk about when the system fails. Before that, you would disagree.
Do you think that Anonymous have solved some problems in our society?
Anonymous has done absolutely nothing about. They're posting videos and being very popular. They have not done nothing at all. The only guys fighting ISIS correctly on the internet are the actual institutions that we're paying with taxpayers' money. Thank you very much. Second question: when does the system fail, and which system is more likely to fail? Now they said, police can come always. And we say, okay, there are examples where this is actually true, but in the majority of the cases, police have a fast response time, and especially in Western countries, police are actually quite responsive and quite efficient at stopping crimes. Like for instance, even in Ploiești, which is a small town in the middle of Romania, I've seen a lot of police patrols and have actually felt quite safe because I've seen a police car rolling by every 15 minutes or so, which made me feel protected and things like that. So yeah, they fail sometimes. But the thing with police force, right, is that we have control over it. If we see that there's not enough responsiveness of a police force, we can make sure we employ more policemen, that we can make sure that they're faster to respond. We can change them because we have democratic checks and balances to control them. But vigilantes don't do that. Vigilantes don't try to fix the system. They don't speak about the problems of the local police force. They don't encourage activism or anything like that. What they do is they try to take matters in their own hand. But who is controlling them, I ask you? Who is making sure that they are not pursuing people who are not truly guilty? No one is. They can do pretty much whatever they want, right? Because if they leave someone up in the middle of the night, they just did it, right? That's the wrong thing. The final point is the point about demons. And they put a false burden on us here. Because they are telling you that when we are regretting these movies, we should be explaining to you how these movies are going to create killers, how these movies are going to make sure that all people start doing bad things. We never said that. We never set out an unrealistic goal for us. That was a straw man from their side. They themselves, though, they had some cherry-picked examples. They put an immense burden on themselves. because they have the burden right now, putting on themselves, that all the people who are watching those movies are suddenly going to be the perfect keepers of authority, law, and order, which is obviously not true, because I have shown to you how it's not possible and not true, and actually how all those examples that it were pretty hardcore, pretty charity. And it's quite funny that they talk about peaceful activism, but never explain the link of how people are going to be peaceful activists once they look at violent movies or how Batman goes and stuff. But what we talked about, what the real impact of those movies is that they don't make all the people kill people or go out and be crazy and berserk. They make people normal, be okay with an idea of someone doing that. There already are vigilantes. But with those films, we have people who are saying this is okay. I'm okay with someone doing that. We are giving people in ISIS legitimacy because they think that what they're doing is right. And if they're watching a Batman movie, they say, oh, he's just like me, he's fighting for what's right in the world. So we think that those movies have a principal mistake. They are instilling wrong values in our society. And when we have wrong values, we are not going to be good moral judges of what's happening. So we want to have less legitimacy for such actions. Please vote for. Thank you.
Thank you for the speech, and I now call on Horia. I'm sorry to pronounce. On the third speaker.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have, I think, 4 questions that we need to answer in this debate, and that's exactly what I'm going to focus my speech on. First of all, do we want Batman in reality? To which the answer is shortly no. Second of all, are we becoming vigilantes? To which again, the answer in short is no. Third of all, are they in our society? Are these people doing things in the face of crimes, vigilantes or activists, which needs a bit of expansion? And fourth of all, is the system and these proposed vigilantes, should they be complementary or not? Now, let's just jump right in and say this whole idea that because we have these movies about Batman, because of how it is portrayed, and there was this huge assumption made by team government today that we actually want Batman in reality. To which the answer is no, really no. We don't want the kind of vigilantes that we see in movies in reality. We don't want people who go up and beat mobsters in the street. We don't. In a second, sir. We don't want any of those violent people to be. We don't want killing in the street. We don't want any of those things. What we do actually want is for them to still be there when we have this kind of fiction. Third speaker.
So they want to have people going out and stopping crime, but trust me, they're not going to be like Batman. They're not going to be violent. How are they going to control
Sit down. No, I don't want people to go out in the streets and to stop crime. I want people to be active. I want people to care about the people next to them. I want that person, that pedestrian walking on the street, not to stop. I don't want him to go and beat that other person and to deliver justice. What I do want him to is to care about that old lady going out there. I don't want him to pass on the next, on the other side of the street, and for him to ignore all of this with the idea that no, it's the police's job to do this. No, I am involved too. But I will expand on this in my third. Now, this whole idea about endorsing. No, actually, we don't endorse them by having them still be portrayed as positive in fiction. What we do have are movies where we portray them as being positive. That's it. People who simply the fact that we say we like this thing can mean a lot of things, such as this is good fiction, these are good movies, they are entertaining. It doesn't necessarily mean that by saying I like this positive portrayal that I want this to be in my society, because that's not how things work. At the same time, all of these movies like or no thank you. All of these things, we don't want, just by liking the way things are portrayed in movies doesn't say that we want them in our society too. Now, this whole idea of the efficiency of vigilantes and how they are not good at stopping crime, we would rather have the police. Yeah, damn straight we want the police to stop crime. Because that's the whole idea. We still, in what we have been proposing throughout our case, is the fact that we like the way the justice system is composed. Yes, we would like more police patrols. We would like more police officers and better training, better things like this. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that we want people to just come out and do the job of the policeman. In no way. And now, moving on to this idea that their third argument, that we concede that one man does right, it means that it is a right thing to do in general. Okay, first of all, no, that's not how it works. Just because in one case you say something is right doesn't mean that all cases that have some sort of similarity are supposed to be right too. And next up, seriously, when we watch these movies, and just because we say, okay, I like this movie and I like the way that Batman is portrayed in such things, it doesn't mean I want Batman to come out of this movie, to become real, and to do the same things in our society. In no way. Thank you. Now, moving on. Are we becoming vigilantes? No. No, we're not becoming vigilantes. First of all, we've had these Batman comics and this whole DC Marvel comics since the 20s, and people have been reading them ever since. Seriously, we need to have a reality check in which we say, just because we portray them as being good, doesn't mean that all people reading them are going to be like, yes, we need vigilantes in our society. And at the same time, it doesn't mean that we are eroding the values of our society in any way. But, for example, just because we've had thousands of years of portraying war as being something honorable, something just, and all of that, and yet, at the same time, we do have a period of peace. The largest and the most peaceful period in history. Why? Because because in spite of all the portrayal that has been imposed on us, that what is just, that what is right, that what is honorable, we still manage to filter things through our perspective in our society. Now, sir, no thank you. What I've been saying in all of this is that just because we have this portrayal, no thank you, doesn't mean that we are going to turn our society into all of this. It's still going to be there, it's still going to be fiction. People are still going to perceive this as being fiction, something entertaining, and not just taking the knife and saying, yep, that's what I'm going to do. Now, are they vigilantes or are they activists? First up, the distinction. We think that what we've been saying is that no sane person is going to look at this and say, that's what I'm going to do. Because still, we do have this whole societal implementation in our heads that law is right, that law should be abided, that justice is supposed to be done this way. But what we do see in these movies is this whole idea that one man should care for another, that one man should come out of his way in order to do good, that one man needs to care for what's happening next to him. That's why we think that this is a powerful message. That, yeah, you are responsible for what's going on next to you. And, yeah, sure, the police should be the ones making the difference. But at the same time, you should care what's going on. We think that this is a powerful message and that people need this message delivered onto them. Because that's exactly the thing that's happening with that guy who's trying to stop the robber of that poor lady. Now, what if that man is so wrong? Well, he should be punished by law, by all the things that we believe. Yes, we don't want these people to escape justice, but at the same time, we don't want the portrayal to be gone. We still want people to care what's going on. We still want them to go out of their way in order to do good. And we still want them to be punished if it's shown that it was the wrong thing to do. Now, the fourth question. Are the system and this whole activism thing supposed to be complementary? Yeah, they should be. Because this whole implication thing that the heroes are imposing on us, that you should come out of your way to do good things, is something that makes people active in what they're doing. This is what promotes neighborhood watches. Those people that come out on the streets at night in order to walk and to make make sure that the streets are safe. That is, in some way, inspired by these vigilantes, people like Batman. And we do want this thing to happen. We do want people to abide by all these principles. That's what happens with whistleblowers. We do want them to come out of their way and to do things for the good of the society, even if they are going to be punished afterwards, even if it's the wrong thing. We do want this attitude to come out. Please, oppose the motion. Oppose the motion.
Right, thank you. And I will now stop Andrea to deliver the last speech of the
Mr. Speakers, if I were to judge this debate, at the end of it, I would ask myself two major questions. One, is the justice system solving everything? And if no, should they be held by a complementary stakeholder? And two, how will people and how people actually perceive this kind of movies? Let's look at the first question. If the justice system is solving everything, and we've given you multiple examples, such as Mexico, which has problems with drug cartels, and that in which the justice system cannot solve everything. And they have told us that no, there are police patrols everywhere. What if they aren't? What if they aren't? Because we've proved you that there are examples in which they are. And in that case, we have to ask ourselves another question. Should, in that position, in this case, should a complementary stakeholder intervene? And we have tried to prove to you in our three speeches that when you have the opportunity to do so, when the justice system in your country cannot do the best it can, and you feel that the society has an intrinsic need of solving that thing, should you act? Yes, you should act. More than that, you should have something that should incentivize you to do that. And that is a good portrayal of the vigilantes in the movies. And in that moment, in which we realize that we need, and we've proved to you this, that we need someone to act, in that moment, we believe that the best actor to act is a stakeholder that has understood the desire, the need of the society to do this, and that will act upon it, because he will not be extreme. He will not be extreme because he knows the consequences. And even if he will be extreme, think that it has not been proven to us, they will be held accountable for it. But at the end of the day, the question if they're not extreme, and if they're helping something, should we help them as a society? I think we should answer with this question with yes, Mr. Judges. The second question. How people actually perceive this. Because we asked the team government to prove to us what's the real link between the vigilantes, the extreme vigilantes in the movies, and the extreme people that we will have in our society. Not only that they haven't proven to us this thing, but they also said on their third speaker that they don't want to prove this, which you consider a bad strategic move. Okay, but now let's look at what we have tried to prove, and what's the link that we have tried to prove to you when it comes to the perception of these people, this kind of people. And we have tried to prove to you that when a man, when a woman, when anyone in this room would watch a Batman movie, ladies and gentlemen, they would actually understand the fact that Batman goes and asks for things. They would actually understand that not the extreme way is the way to go for, but the way in which you actually do something. And in this point, we think that we have proven to you how these vigilantes in the movie and the portrayal of them, and the fact that they are so present in the entertainment market of the movies and books and so on and so forth, actually produce in our society actual activists that could actually solve the problem that we have proven in my first question. And we believe that, yes, the entertainment market should try and do portray something that produces something good in our society. And that is, at the end of the day, a man that actually saves the problem with the drug cartels in Mexico. That does not bring any harm to the society, but even more, it helps it, because it's a complementary stakeholder that we need in our society. If we believe in all this, and if you think that we have answered all these questions, which we think we did, please oppose this motion.
Alright, thank you. And now we're going to call upon Arthur to the last speaker of the day.
Ladies, gentlemen, and potential future vigilantes, we have been very, very, very clear on what we have been talking about inside the proposition. We have been talking about that if we want to have a justice system, it needs to provide us with a reasonable guarantee that justice will be dispensed, and that we're not relying on a shaky system based on assumptions of how people will act. First, I'm going to clear up this idea of a link between actions, which leads into who's talking about what kind of effect this media will have. But first of all, we talked about the principle. While we don't want to have bad values in society, they did not tackle us on this level. Second of all, we talked about very soft-core impacts, the kind that they accuse us of not having. Like, for example, us feeling that this is a good thing, holding it inside, this affecting our actions every day. These are things as simple as people legitimizing Anonymous, saying Anonymous is okay. You know, the guys who are called Anonymous and anonymously call out random people on the internet as potential jihadists, so that then I, who have legitimized their actions as activists and support this kind of acting, will go out and I will publicly lynch those people on the internet by shouting at them on Facebook. This is a very soft-core impact. But then they come up and they accuse us, no, you guys are hardcore, you want Batman. And then they ask for Batmans. And they talk about individuals who will go in the street. They say that they want individuals, quote their reply speaker, something like, or third speaker, I don't know. So he said, like, they want individuals to make these choices about when to make a good action on the street. And that this will be good because these individuals will make good choices and act in a good way. We have been consistently arguing this. The justice system can guarantee that they act in a good way in line with the universal moral that is society that is the sum of its parts democratically decided. What they are arguing is they are counting, they've not shown us a link why all these people who would be affected and would act would necessarily reflect the value system that we as a society hurt. It is possible that someone believes that it is never okay to hit a woman, I'm sorry, it's a terrible example, and then you see a man defending himself against a woman in self-defense, and then he would go and he would beat up the man because he's dispensing vigilante justice. This is another thing that they are not addressed weirdly. They've shifted from talking about vigilantes at the end to talking about activism and pointing things out. People who are not vigilantes by definition because they're now legitimized by the government, which means that they are not acting against the government. The criminal justice system has decided they are legitimate actors and they're not vigilantes. They tried to shift their entire case. No, we're talking about vigilantes, we're talking about people who do things, go against the current system because they believe the current system is flawed and because they make an individual decision. So, I'm glad we're both talking about at least this guy who intervenes on the street, because this is something that we do have in common. Now let's talk about why this is bad. Well, what they said is that he just asserted that he would do good things that are in line with society's morals. We have provided you with analysis with my second speaker. Our entire extension, in fact, was about how if you're going to legitimate his actions, the guy who saves the woman from being attacked, you're also legitimating the actions of someone else who did a personal decision just because he thinks it is good. And yes, I'm pretty sure jihadists who blow up towers with planes, they probably think what they're doing is good for society. They probably think that what they're doing is good for everyone because they're misguided. But the fact of the matter is that they do not reflect the views that all of society together has come up with. And these are the views that the criminal justice system reflects. So, the next thing we talked about, and they did not, is we showed you what the criminal justice system has to provide and how this man in the street doesn't provide. And they did not provide any counter-analysis. They just said that no one would be acting in any other way. This is when we talk about how they would be innocent until proven guilty. This means they have to be proven guilty by the standards of guilt that society has come up with together. This is when we talk about how there's the right to a fair trial. We talk about how fair punishment that society considers fair, equal punishment, that you have an equivalent moral arbiter in every case. These kind of things. These are things that they cannot guarantee that they're one man or do. Therefore, they do not have a consistent and fair way of dispensing justice. Why is this problematic? Because they did not tackle this. Instead, they said, I'm sure that he's going to do good things because he sees good things and he wants to do good things. Not everyone wants to do good things. That's why we have a criminal justice system. This leads me to the final point I want to talk about, which is vigilantes against the system. And this is what we talked about in my second argument and all throughout. They want people who disagree with the system, and if our system is good, then maybe they disagree with it because they're bad. That kind of people, to take justice and dispense it into their own hands, instead of participating in the system we already have, voting for their views and contributing to these democratic checks and balances, contributing to our global societal idea of what justice should be like. Because there is no objective standard of justice that everybody is magically informed about. There is societal standard of justice that we participate in through legitimate means. Thank you very much. I believe you should propose this motion. I think it will
Alright, thank you both teachers for the debate. I will now ask you all to clear the room, and we'll call you